Hello everyone, my name is Pragya Agarwal. Today I am gonna present you the topic Anatomy of Paranasal Sinuses and its complications. Hello everyone. Before going into the details of paranasal sinuses, let us first start with what are sinuses. Sinuses are the channels or the cavities which are present inside the bone. Before going into the paranasal sinuses are the air-filled cavities which are present inside the bone. For example, if we see in this figure, we can see the frontal sinus is present in the frontal bone, maxillary sinus is present in the maxillary bone, and when we see its lateral view, we can see the sphenoid sinus inside the sphenoid bone. We can also find out that paranasal sinuses are also called the outpouchings from the lateral wall of the nose. That is, they have the same epithelial lining as of nose, that is ciliated columnar epithelium. For better understanding of paranasal sinuses, we can also understand by the bony landmarks on the skull. For example, frontal sinuses are present here, maxillary sinuses are present here, and ethmoidal are present here. But whereas this sphenoid sinus we cannot easily demarcate because it is present posteriorly. Now let's start with the maxillary sinus. Maxillary sinus is also known as antrum of Highmore. Basically, it is the largest sinus, pyramidal in shape, with apex being the downward position. Its capacity is around 30 ml. If we see the drainage of the maxillary sinus, we can see the maxillary sinus drains into the maxillary ostium, into the infundibulum. Then through hiatus semilunaris, it enters through the middle meatal area. Okay, now frontal sinus. Frontal sinus are present on both the sides. Basically, they are triangular in shape and they are the last one to develop, that is at the age of 7 to 8 years, and at birth they are rudimentary. This frontal sinus drains into frontonasal ducts which opens into the middle meatal area. Since its drainage is held by gravity, it is also called early morning or office headache. Sinus is present since birth. It has three cell layers. One is bulla ethmoidalis, which is most prominent, the halar cell, which are present at the floor of the orbit, whereas agar neci, which are the anterior most ethmoidal cells. Since these ethmoidal sinus is divided into three compartments, anterior, middle and posterior, the anterior compartments drains its secretion into middle meatus and the posterior drains its secretion into the posterior superior meatus area. Ethmoidal sinus are present since the birth. So and ethmoidal sinus are present near your eyes. So it is divided into your anterior segment as well as posterior. The anterior one opens into the middle meatal area and the posterior one opens into the superior meatal area. And if we see the ethmoidal sinus, they are most commonly affected in children as well as adults. The last one is the sphenoid sinus. It is present since the birth and it is the most least common sinusitis we can see. Now we start with our clinical part, that is sinusitis and its complications. What do you mean by sinusitis? It is basically the inflammation of the lining of your paranasal sinusitis. So rhinitis cannot occur without sinusitis. Therefore, nowadays it is also known as rhinosinusitis. If we see the etiology of sinusitis, the most common are the viral ones, but there are bacterial ones also like Streptococcus, Staphylococcus, Haemophilus influenza, Moraxella lacunata, and there are other causes also like in swimming, the swimming water diving water can enter through our osteals, or there can be dental infection as well. Start with the pathophysiology of the sinusitis. Since we all know that viral infection can be the common cause for this, we can see in this flowchart that there is a mucosal thickening in this sinus, which can lead to obstruction of this natural ostia, due to which there can be hypooxygenation of these cells, which can lead to the hyperactivity. Basically, the hyperactivity of the goblet cell can lead to the retention of the mucosa in the sinus, in turn which will cause the bacterial infection. So what is the difference between acute sinusitis and chronic sinusitis? Acute sinusitis is when there is infection less than 3 months, and if it persists more than 3 months, then it is called chronic sinusitis. Like, if you can understand the difference more clearly, if a patient comes to you in your OPD with a complaints like nasal discharge, post nasal drips, or there is redness in the cheeks, headache, constant headache for a period of more than 3-4 days, then you can suspect for this sinusitis. To be more precise and clear, you can ask the patient to go for an anterior rhinoscopy, in which you can see a congested mucosa in the nose. Diagnosis point of view, we can go for an X-ray, also CT. More preferred is the CT scan, but we can also go for an X-ray. In an X-ray, we go for a Waters view. And in your clinicals or practicals point of view, you should know how to read an X-ray. If we see the X-ray, there is frontal sinus, there is orbits you can see, and there is maxillary sinus. All are black in color if they are normal, and if there is any haziness, that means there is secretion in these. For example, in your left maxillary, you can see a clear demarcation, that is above triangular area is little bit of blackish in color, and below it is haziness is there. So that means there is acute maxillary sinusitis. And if you want, you can clear your investigation further by going for an anterior nasal endoscopy, in which you can see a congested nasal mucosa. Maxillary sinusitis and frontal sinusitis are almost the same. That is, they have the same clinical features: the tenderness, the pain, the swelling. But there is additional things like upper eyelid is a little bit of swollen. There is tenderness. There is nasal discharge as well. And when we go to its diagnosis part, we see that CT scan is always the preferred one, but we can also see a Waters view or a lateral view for frontal sinusitis. In this figure or X-ray, you can see these white arrows which are pointing towards the frontal sinus. In the right side, you can see a haziness kind of a view, like there is a demarcation in this. So you can say there is a right side frontal sinusitis. Let's start with the medical management of these sinusitis. The first thing we will give are antimicrobial drugs like amoxicillin, ampicillin. Then we will go for a nasal decongestant drops or a steam inhalation if we want an instant relief. An analgesic or a steam hot formulation will be very useful. But these both sinusitis have different surgical things. Like for maxillary sinusitis, we go for antral lavage, whereas for frontal sinusitis, we go for tremphination, like as you can see in this picture. Now, as we started that chronic sinusitis is because of when the infection persists for more than 3 months or years. So basically, when the acute infection cannot be resolved, we say it is chronic sinusitis. It can be due to repeated mucosal changes or repeated infections, or when there is loss of cilia, or as well as when there is impaired drainage of these secretions, we can lead to chronic sinusitis. In this chronic sinusitis, we can also see destruction and healing of the nasal mucosa, as well as hypertrophic sinusitis and atrophic sinusitis can also be seen. Clinical features are similar to acute sinusitis, but in this there is less severity is there. Purulent nasal discharge can also be a common complaint. Foul smelling discharge due to anaerobic bacteria or local pain and tenderness can also be seen. Nasal stuffiness and anosmia. There are many common features in this chronic sinusitis you can observe in some patients. Investigation for chronic sinusitis are the X-ray or the X-ray with contrast or a CT or a aspiration in which pus is the confirmatory trace. When you see these X-rays in this picture, there is a clear-cut sinusitis or blockage you can see. Like in the left side of the maxillary sinus, you can easily view that there is whole of mucus secretion or blockage is seen. It can also go to your osteometal complex. Even in your ethmoidal sinus, you can see this blockage. So it is a clear-cut confirmation that it is a chronic sinusitis. Treatment for chronic maxillary sinusitis. In this, the first we do is antral puncture. In this, we insert a cannula inside the maxillary sinus via the inferior meatal area, due to which we can do the drainage and irrigation of the sinus. The second one is intranasal antrostomy, and the third one is very important, that is Cadwell-Luck operation. In this, we give a horizontal incision, as you can see in this figure, in the gingivolabial sulcus from lateral incisor to the second premolar, due to which we raise our periosteal flaps and maxillary sinus is exposed. We remove our pathology and then we cut open it and remove the pathology, and then we close it by giving a sutures. Ethmoidal sinusitis. In this, we do external ethmoidectomy, intranasal ethmoidectomy, and whereas in chronic sphenoid sinus, we do sphenoidectomy. Now we come to a very important procedure, that is FES. It is very commonly used nowadays, and many questions are asked from this FES topic. Now, what is FES? FES is functional endoscopic sinus surgery. In this, we pass a rigid nasal endoscope to the drainage area of the paranasal sinuses to enlarge them. And the first step is to remove the uncinate process of the ethmoid bone. So there is a question asked that what is the first step in the FES? So it is uncinectomy. The FES surgeries are always used in many procedures, like mucocele is there in the maxillary sinus, or polyps are there, or if any infection is there, deviated nasal septum is there, choanal atresia is there. Like there are many indications, whereas it has complications as well. Like for example, since we pass a nasal endoscope inside, so there can be a hemorrhage, a CSF leak can also be there, injury to orbits or injury to nasolacrimal duct can also be there. Now let's start with the last part, which are complications of sinusitis. Since you know ethmoidal sinus is near your orbit, so we can have periorbital edema if we have infection in your ethmoidal sinus, or orbital cellulitis, subperiosteal abscess, orbital abscess, or cavernous sinus thrombosis. In the same way, we can also have intracranial complications as well, like extradural abscess, subdural abscess, meningitis, frontal lobe abscess, since due to frontal sinus is concerned. And we can also have a bony complications also, like osteomyelitis, since this cavernous sinus or any sinus is present inside the bone, so the infection can transfer to the bones itself. So these are all the complications, and thank you for listening my seminar.